Top of the morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good. You look bright and cheery.
It's the 4 cups of coffee already this morning. No, I gotta my computer still doesn't have Zoom on it, so I'm gonna do this off my phone on top of everything else that I am adapting to technology. So,
Well, for an old man, you're doing great. Pick
dude,
up
I am
stuff.
I am in my 30s now, so I am definitely feeling it.
Oh, it gets to be long weeks after last night's class, and then jump up early this morning too. So,
Uh,
well, good.
no, but it's worth it.
And I know you got kids coming in here, so um, because they don't seem to straggle. They love to get into your class and get right into business. So.
And that's actually something that like my first hour classes, like that's my how can I say this? Like that's usually my biggest struggle
Hmm.
is getting kids here on time. My first hour and my third hour right after Saints time.
Yeah.
There's always a couple of stragglers, but looking at my rosters, I got a good mix of individuals that are have been a part of this, and I'm like, yep, keep coming because you know what you got to do. And I got a bunch of new guys that are coming through that are ready to get after it as well. So that's kind of
Right.
fun.
Well, and part of that, the hard part, because what I saw is the bunches come in, they were ready, they're engaged. And then what you see is the one or two stragglers.
Yep.
I see 32 kids come in and they're ready, and you see the two stragglers. And, they're both accurate, they're both true,
Yep.
but we don't want to forget that you must be doing something to engage relationship, to engage them, that they feel not only free, but they feel encouraged to come in early and talk to you and say hi. And
Yeah.
I think that's a testament to some of the underlying things that you do.
No, I appreciate that.
Not even purposely, but yeah. Well, how did you feel about yesterday overall with what you were planning on trying to accomplish with that lesson?
Um, I mean, I like it. I'm not a huge lecture person, so to be able to talk for an entire hour is actually insanely difficult for me to do. Even though I am very much a talker.
Right.
Um, but having everything up on the big screen TV and being able to pull kids that like one I know, but two at the same time, like I have never had a conversation with the Cade in class. Cade, can I use you for a second? And I think that also breaks up like that little moment where kids are walking. It gives me that process time to even kind of remind myself, okay, what do I need to remind the class about or teach the class about when it comes to using that piece of equipment. And I
Right.
think my message gets across clear. I've done this lesson where I have not done the scavenger hunt, you could say, where I'm like, okay, this piece, what is it? And kids are like, that's a barbell. Yep, the barbells are over here. And all of a sudden I get to like middle of the day and I'm like, oh darn it, I forgot to talk about how these barbells stay in this location compared to that location. And I think that sending kids and getting random kids up and moving not only gets them moving, but gives me that process wait time to like clear my mind to how I want to talk about.
Yeah. Because you're not, like you said, you're not an everyday lecturer. So
Correct.
that's not your strong point. And giving a tool for you, that's actually quite genius, actually, when you think about it. That, yeah,
I'm
use.
glad this is recorded because if you could share this with me so I could take this little clip and send it to my wife.
Yeah, that's my job here. I'm giving you as much ammo as you can have to build your relationship at home.
Lessons that are outside of everything you do. So
Yeah, you could just play it every morning. You're a genius, Steve. You're a genius. Yeah. We'll see what we can do to help you out that way.
I appreciate that.
No, but those are some of the things that's the value of doing observations and having other people come in. I mean, you're a phenomenal teacher. I've known that from when I was casually observing you 5 minutes every day when I would come over from the elementary school. I was regularly telling people we got a gem here. Um, but to have somebody come in and observe you, and you get that chance to really think about specific things and what break it down. I think that's the biggest thing. Some of those things we do naturally, but you're able to reflect here. And that's kind of what my job is right now, isn't just to
Yep.
blow sunshine where it doesn't belong, but to kind of get us both to, think through what is it that made that lesson successful, because we don't want to let that go either. Just knowing that. Um, so, so what I heard you were saying basically is that little time to think, and you're turning students' attention too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you get a chance to turn in their seats, as little as that is, that that helps rather than listening to you for 45 minutes. I think
Yep.
I think that's right. Other keys that you kind of think that made it go well?
No, that's I mean, obviously having a classroom where you have so many focal points, like you said, like moving around. That's something that I learned from one of my favorite professors, even in college, is that, yeah, they were an energetic person, but they never stood one spot in the room. Like he would teach in the back of the room. He'd teach in the side of the room. He would teach just standing right in the middle of us all. And obviously, who's engaged at that point when you can change around and all of a sudden, like I've had kids that come up to me in the past with the strategy that they're like, Gerard, I felt like I was literally all over the place and it was like exhausting for me to stick with you. I'm like, yeah, but it also showed me that you were engaged, and do I position myself in the classroom to be by those individuals that don't look like they're engaged? I know they're hearing me,
Yeah.
but how can I get that eye contact? And I mean, there was a couple times I went from like one end of the group to the other end of the group, just to like catch Dustin, who was kind of looking at his buddies like, dude, why are you on your phone? But I wasn't directing it towards Dustin. I was directing it towards Cade. It was like, hey, buddy, we're really trying to get this stuff ironed out day one. So I think that's another strategy of like positioning yourself, creating that focal point, and then you can see who's engaged, who's not engaged. So
That's a seasoned teacher being able to, right? I mean, again, I'm complimenting you, yeah, but I want you to value those things.
yeah,
You can do that when you're a student teacher. You're not doing that. You're worried about so many other things, and
correct.
now you're just kind of naturally flowing that way. And that's partly why your brain's going on so many. You need that break because you're thinking about so many different things. But yeah, that's why I was amazed that these are high school kids and they were quiet and tracking with you and,
Mm-hmm.
and sticking with you. Um, overall, um, I like to take. I'm gonna make us think deeper about this. Okay.
Yep.
In no way do I want you to read that this isn't a good lesson, but
Yeah.
just because I'm asking questions to how to make something better. So
Yep.
I want to preface that up front because I don't want to be misread that way. But I'm a competitor like you. I was trying to make things better. So I was thinking, God, that was a good lesson. I'm thinking, I wonder what Steve thinks is what would be the people do this all across the state, right? All across the country, weight rooms. I wonder what the best in the state would be. I wonder what type of
Yeah.
lesson they do to do that. You know what I mean? And do you have any thoughts on that? Kind of like, okay, that was really good. And maybe the best lesson would also be not as good in other ways. Yours was maybe the most efficient, but I was
Yeah.
trying to think of other things, other ways. When you said scavenger hunt, any thoughts on that? I wonder what maybe somebody you really respect. I wonder how they introduce their day, or any thoughts on how you could improve it. I guess is really and just because you can.
The I mean the only other thing that I can think of that I have done in the past, or is that I haven't done in the past that I've thought about, is like actually having my okay, this class is weird because I've got kids that have taken this class 5 or 6 times over their 4 years. Can I utilize those kids to teach within the classroom? And start to show a little bit of ownership that way. I thought about how like I got Addie and I got Grayson and I got Dustin and I got Marquise that has been here a few times. Can I have them describe or like, hey, why do we use this? What are some of the exercises we can do it for? To kind of like have me step back and give leadership inside of the classroom. But the one thing I get scared of is that I'm never going to have, am I always going to have kids like that in my classroom?
Right.
So that's kind of a high risk, high reward situation that
Yeah.
like I've thought about. Um, I've thought about the carousel around the room where people are transitioning from station to station and then they're reading about the different stuff. But is that also, how do you make sure kids are on track to make sure that like this is the foundation blocks of the pyramid that we're trying to get through by
Right.
the end of
Right.
the, so I get a little bit scared kind of going off this efficient way
Yeah.
and trying to go something else, because there's been moments where like I forgot to say something and then I have that battle for the next 11 weeks.
Right.
And it's like, and I know there's going to be something I forgot about yesterday that I'm going to be like, oh, I forgot to.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah, I
I had ideas too, and then everything came back to, yeah, but his
yeah,
main purpose is get this out of the way in some ways. And now, so, let's be honest, these are kids. They listened for 40 minutes. Not all the kids got everything you said, even if you did say it. So you're going to be
correct.
feeling some of those things either way. But anyway, I thought I'd bring it up. And what you'd have to do is use that leadership, or you're kind of advancing this class to another level for some of those kids that have had you before. Then now they're kind of investing in leadership qualities or that type of thing. But then you also have to find a way to embed the foundations in so they can't be missed.
Yeah,
What if you had beginning, you had different stations set up either with iPads or with sheets of paper. Everybody goes, sets up their station, and then as a whole class, you move. And
yeah,
those and then you're there kind of picking up, you know what I mean? You pick up the
yeah,
thing they left off, then you say, or if they did it perfect, you could just move on to the next station, but, or something like that, where the whole class just goes from station to station. So it's not just a carousel where you're not hearing what everybody could say, but these kids got involved and everybody was part of a group. You put a leader in each group, but everybody set up, it wouldn't be much. They set up
yeah,
the bench press with the weights on correctly. And then you could just kind of point out again, yeah, that's the weight is the correct weight is on the bar. But look at, they also put the plates on correctly, and you can
yeah.
re-emphasize all those points that are really, anyway, something like that where you've pulled in the most important part for you, not to miss something. But then literally they're out of their seats. They don't even really know that this was a lecture because they set up one station and then they listened to other kids and then you were there and just moving along. Anyway, there was just one thing that came to my mind. It's kind of a lot like a think pair share or the rotating type of thing. That would be another thing too is, are you familiar with think pair share?
Yep, yep,
Kind of like, yeah, even if you're just discussing it there, turn the person next to you and explain this, or
yeah,
before you give the answer. Why do you think, which direction should we have the plates? Turn the person next to you and think of which direction you're guessing. Because I guessed wrong when you were when you were explaining the plates. I'm thinking, well, maybe you want the numbers always facing so that it's just etiquette so that you can see the numbers.
yep.
No, you had a whole different thinking. So anyway, those are just, my job is to kind of keep the gears flowing. Any of that kind of stuff catch something in your brain of moving around?
Dude, I always have an 8-minute drive home that I reflect on every single day,
Okay.
and it's, I'm just trying to like think about like where, like if I did have the Addies of the world describe the piece of equipment, or like you say, like, okay, what do you think this is used for? You got 30 seconds to talk with the person next to you. Does that 30 seconds add up to me going into the end of the hour too? Because it is a long presentation. I think it's 20 some slides and it's pieces of equipment. They're bang, bang, boom. And how do I add that 30 seconds, which would turn into 10 minutes?
Yep.
Where like at the end of the hour yesterday, I had 3 minutes where kids could go up and walk around and look at all this stuff too.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
because I also don't want to make it 10 seconds because then that's not near enough time for them to process.
Yep.
that's not enough time for me to even process half the time. So
So there's give and take with,
yeah, it's the plus
that's,
minuses of the,
that's why we go back to that original statement, just
yep,
because we're talking about making it better doesn't mean it wasn't excellent to start with. But yeah, and I mean, that could bring you to restructuring the whole thing to where, you know what, we're actually gonna do it half days where we spend
yeah,
half, but you can only use this part of the weight room today because that's what we went over yesterday. And then tomorrow we go over this part of equipment, and now you'd split it up twice type of thing. Yeah. So anyway, we got you kind of moving in that direction and thinking.
okay.
I always take notes, so let me check my notes here to see what other questions I was just gonna. Oh, one other thing I was gonna make a note, and I think I told you yesterday, your stories. I could tell the difference in the room when you started telling stories. So
Yeah.
I think that's key to keeping their attention for sure. The other goal you had was switching to positive language. Now, I didn't know how you explained it in the past, but you were going to use kind of PBIS language. How'd you feel about that?
Um, dude, it's difficult because like this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do. Uh, but I've I've geared the stories to the don'ts, and I have so much familiarity and so much background and so much passion for this room that I know I've got a lot of stories on why we don't do what we do, and this lesson, absolutely. I feel like my PBIS language is moving in the track of always, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we like to see. And I can give a story about, hey, this is why we do it this way, and even yesterday, I'll say yesterday in my lifetime activities class, I had an incident where we are talking about rotating in table tennis and how you have to alternate hits partners. And the one kid's like, yeah, you need to get on my way. And he like shoves the kid. And I'm like, don't, don't, don't. And I'm like, holy crap. I have totally got away from my brain thinking about PBIS because I don't have the busted off pinky story. I don't have the plate slamming on the toe. Like it's it's easy in this room for me because I've had so many moments of this is why we don't do this, you
Yep.
know. So honestly, I changed a couple things up on my slideshow that it used to be like the do's and the don'ts. I took the don'ts away. It's the what's and the do's. Um, we did yesterday, or sorry, 2 days ago, we talked about like the locker rooms and the do's and the don'ts in locker rooms. I kept it up there as do's and don'ts, but I only talked about the do's.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I'm gonna see if that makes a difference this trimester.
Yeah.
And if I need to eliminate it, totally look through what I'm presenting, then. But yeah, no, I totally restructured the talk yesterday, or like my PowerPoint to go, okay, we're gonna literally strictly stick to the do's,
Yep.
and like the chatty Cathy. In the past, I'm like, we can't have you guys sitting around for 8 minutes. Now it's okay, if you guys have an 8 minute conversation, there is no way you'll get done with all your exercises,
Yeah.
or you'll lose a lot of time when it comes to getting your workouts done.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy in this setting for me because I've done it so much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's where like PBIS is starting to like change the way people think, is because maybe you're put in a new setting and it is hard for you to explain why we do stuff and don't do stuff.
And I think, I don't know about you, but some of those, I don't think they're hard, fast rules.
Correct.
You don't go home in your 8-minute car ride going, oh, I told the kid not to punch another kid, even if you're just joking,
Yeah.
comes out, it jumps out. You sometimes you just gotta stop kids, you
Yeah.
stop being an idiot, but you gotta
Yeah.
stop them. I don't know that, that's the PBS thing. Overall, I think you're just gonna start finding when you got that in your mind, like elementary, we got kids that run in from the bus. Instead of constantly nagging, stop running. You come up with some other key thing, like sometimes we use is walking feet, please. It's just a much more friendly flavor. Walking Pete does the same thing, but if you have to say it over and over, it's going to be better. So that kind of that, hey, no shoving is, dude, hands to yourself, you know,
Yeah.
just something short, but it's not naggy. It's just a
Yeah.
positive, and you'll come up with those over time as you, especially the ones you got to repeat, and those are the most important ones, I guess.
Correct.
A once in a while correcting kids, I don't know about you, but I don't think that's what the PBS was talking about. I think it was talking about the overall positive. So, well, good. It was fun to come watch you again. I absolutely appreciate being invited in to do that. I love what you do over there. Before we wrap up, just any takeaways? As you
Okay, well, 1 second. I gotta get. Sorry, I had a student who has a living with hearing impairment. And he's got a mic that he left on my cart at the end of the day, so he was coming looking for it. I think the biggest takeaway is the rewording of the PBIS of, okay, here's the dues. When it doesn't happen, here's my experiences. What you're like, that's my way of getting around the nagginess is a lot of my experiences, or don't get me wrong, can I come up with an experience that might be just a little bit exaggerated to make it look like it was important in the class? And that's what I kind of related myself when I was doing this conversation yesterday is, okay, literally all of my experiences is working with my language in class. Instead of saying, we're not going to do this, it's going to be, if you do this, this is what might happen. So I think that's my biggest takeaway.
Awesome. I think, and that's a muscle to build. You're not gonna like click one day and all of a sudden you have it. It's going to be something that it's over and over, and just hope you're feeling good about it. It sounds that you notice the difference, because we're forced to do so many things as teachers. It's nice that when we're forced to think about certain things, you're like, oh, good. This is actually helping me. I'm not just jumping through. So
absolutely.
Well, good. Thanks again for your input in class. For the last 30 or 24 hours we spent in class. It's just, when you're put in leadership position, I know you applied for that position, and I'm going to be happy to give it to you next time around.
Keep it for like 10 more years, please.
But it's great, it's fun, but it's only when we got guys like you that you're happy to always give input. I just wanted to tell you that it just made things go a lot easier, because I'm not used to teaching adults either, so you're always kind of wondering how are they going to react to this, and I just appreciated your input, your smiley face all the time, and your positive feedback there. So thanks again for that aspect of it.
Thank you too, sir.
All right, well, you have a great rest of your day. And
and I will get these the post or the questions done probably during my second hour today.
Yep.
And then
just let me know, and I'll send it out to the rest of the PRT.
Perfect.
Is that your final observation?
Nope, I got one more coming up that I'm going to try and get done by the beginning of April, end of March. I know we got spring break coming up, but I also got baby number 2 coming in the end of April that I'm trying to get all that stuff ironed out too. So
I heard you had number 2 come. I didn't realize it was that fast.
Yeah, that's it. We're getting close here. So,
well, congratulations on that. Fantastic. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Life's about to change, buddy.
Dude, it's already amazing. All right. Have a good day, sir.
You too. Bye-bye.